cycling back to Captain Narumi, I get the impression from what I've seen that he makes a good show of being brutally logical in his combat decisions, but he also has that emotionally immature side of him.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not certain, even at this point, before he has any real relationship with Kafka, I am not certain that he could make the decision to cut Kafka down, even if Kafka was in a berserk rage, but especially if Kafka's just been captured. I don't think that Narumi has the emotional maturity to actually make that call, make that decision.
Right.
So what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure. I think for the most part I do agree with you. I think the way we're seeing these sort of two sides to Narumi kind of makes me think that he talks a lot of game, but and he you know, he shows that he can walk the walk for the most part, but sometimes I also get the impression that, you know, he says some things because he has to say them as a leader. So I do wonder whether, especially if Kafka hasn't transformed, if he still looks like a human, I wonder whether he would be able to cut him down. On the other side, I still kind of really get the impression that he, as you know, as much as he shows this emotional immaturity and he plays around a lot, and he definitely almost feels like a bit of comic relief in some cases. I also feel like he has a high level of professionalism, so a decision like that might actually be really easy for him. For me right now, it's kind of hard to sit on either side fully, but I think I'm kind of like 60% agreeing with you and 40% the other way.
Yeah, same. It's just that there's a huge for a guy with that much observable physical courage. There's a huge difference between being able to walk the walk, as in he's 100% willing to go and fight a monster himself, and being able to walk the walk is making that cold-hearted, clear-minded, put Old Yeller down decision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So now, kind of number 9, when he shows up there, he's drawn very interestingly with no hands.
Yeah, he looks gross.
No hands and legs. That is exactly how a cordyceps, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm bad at pronunciations, even in my own field, but that's exactly how the fungus grows out of the ant's head.
Yeah, I mean,
But
what you've been saying makes even more sense just looking at him now. It's like he looks to me like a fungus or something growing out of the ant. Like he doesn't look right.
And where I live right now, it's fungus season.
Oh, lovely.
And those little flat-topped heads are popping up all over. And it's really just been driving home to me as I've been thinking this, that those flat-topped heads are individual reproductive organs. And so and they're meant to be put up, and then they basically turn to dust and blow away. And the actual organism lives underground. You never see it. It almost can't be seen because it's just these thready filaments going through the soil. So I'm thinking the actual Kaiju number 9, we may not have even seen him yet. And these just might be drones that he puts up to do his will. And so quite possibly, we've seen indications that there's at least one central Kaiju number 9 body that he has to take care of and be mindful of. But I'm not certain that every Kaiju number 9 we've seen is the same body, especially with this one.
Oh, right.
This one
Yeah,
might have been
you mentioned
spores.
this before.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this body especially might have been spores that were put into the ant, grew out of the ant's body, and that even if they completely destroy this Kaiju number 9, all they've done is taken out one head on the Hydra kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the picture now, and it kind of blows my mind now when I look at it, because he really just gives me the impression that he is just a fungus, like taking over bodies and things and just invading things.
Yeah.
And now his whole aesthetic, like his whole design, just screams fungus to me. Yeah, that's pretty dope.
And it would explain, and also we now have a theme, of the underground kaiju, because that's twice now that it's come up. The first one was the Kafka's first big kaiju battle. It was the kaiju that had burst out from underground, the giant named fungal kaiju.
That's right.
And kaiju number 9 had been in amongst it.
Well, he had a massive hand in that, didn't he?
Yeah,
number 9.
He's from what he said, he specifically altered it. He altered the reproductive organs in the yoju that it was spawning. Yonju? It's Hanju yoju.
It's yoju, yeah.
Yoju. So when it wasn't clear whether he'd altered the Hanju so that the yoju were born with reproductive organs, or if he'd gone in and individually altered the yoju in their embryonic phase. But we know that it was too expensive for him to alter the yoju while they were full grown. So he either altered them while they were in an embryonic phase, or he made one big alteration to the Hanju. And then here he is with the ants. And so that's now a theme. He gets large groups, large swarms, and alters them underground, and then sends them above to do his bidding.
Yeah, like you said, it could be a theme we're seeing here. That could be his whole thing.
Yeah, so, and that does, I was actually beginning to kind of wonder if Kaiju number 9 had really any hand in the Kaiju number 10 attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point to make, because we've had no clear indication that the two of them had any. I mean, I think it would be a bit of a stretch to say they're not from the same organization or they're not working together in some way, but we've seen no indication to say that number 9 had any part in what number 10 was doing. Like, and number 10 definitely could have been on a completely separate mission all of his own.
Yeah, it's just that the flavor of that attack was essentially diametrically opposite to the two attacks we've seen. We've seen Kaiju number 9 organize.
Agreed.
Whereas Kaiju number 9, it seems that we don't know as much about the sound sensitive ones from his first attack on the training base.
Oh, the Wyvern types, yeah.
Well, no, the very first one.
Sorry, number 9. Yep, sorry, I'm with you.
Yeah. And so that first one, but it did seem like those, especially because the Defense Force was able to corral them and get them all to do their thing in one place, it seems like those sound sensitive, the Hanju and the Yoju, were kind of used to working together, maybe not in the same as a swarm like the ants or the fungus, but they were a naturally cooperative group of kaiju. And so then that would be, but I really don't want to count that one because we just don't know as much about them. Other than
I suppose we don't have
sound.
We don't have as many details.
But it does seem that Kaiju number 9's specialty is making naturally cooperative kaiju more effective in doing damage, and taking kaiju that would not be doing damage normally and making them more damaging.
Yeah, and this leads me. Sorry,
now
go
that
ahead.
I say that, it kind of makes me wonder: had Kaiju number 9 not interfered, would the giant fungal kaiju have been a problem at all? But no way to answer that.
Without number 9's influence, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was still put down pretty easily by Mina, but it's definitely number 9's influence was definitely kind of like, because we see how number 9 was disappointed with their performance, as it were, almost like he was just testing the waters. So yeah, I think with or without him, obviously they didn't really put up a fight, but I feel like he was definitely kind of testing, I guess, the some of the limit of what the Defense Force can do, and maybe also what he can do. But yeah, there's there's so much to still to see from number 9. The guy is definitely the brains, which also leads me back to why I think that even Narumi alone is probably, in terms of raw power, stronger than number 9 currently. Number 9 is definitely all about his game plan and the preparations he makes and the decisions he makes. He's definitely the intelligent one. He's like number 10 we saw was just pure muscle. Didn't really have any brains, as it were. But number 9 is all about the thought process.
Yeah. So where do you see the story going from here, just in general?
Just in general, so it's it's always kind of like hard for me to see past the events that are currently going on, and obviously I kind of touched on what I think might happen in the next few chapters with kind of a Kafka kidnapping, with some of the Defense Force guys trying to get him back. It would be interesting to see what might happen based off of the either success of a kidnapping or the failure. I feel like as a villain, or as the antagonist here, I feel like number 9 kind of deserves a win at this point, because he's come onto the scene a few times and failed, and I feel like it would be an interesting turn in the story for him to kind of come out with a win here. And in that sense, then what would happen going forward? Like, what would we see? Would we suddenly get a lot more information about where they've come from as he tries to, I don't know, take back Kaiju number 8 from Kafka? What would happen after that? Would we go to kind of like a completely different setting? I don't know. There's so many things that could happen with a number 9 win here. So part of me kind of wants to see that happen.
Okay. Have I discussed with you yet? Because I've had a thought on what number 9's goals might be, kind of his overall big picture goals.
Have we discussed that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
As a military, he's clearly got a very scientific mindset and he's working towards some goal.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal is almost certainly not the extermination of humans. The situation's too complex for that, and it seems like a lot of kaiju depend on humans as a food source.
Mm-hmm.
And
I also feel like there's simpler ways to go about that with his kind of abilities. If that was his goal, he could just keep going for massive attacks.
Yeah, and a fungal plague would be much easier to engineer.
Right, I feel like he could try and overwhelm the Defense Force.
But he's definitely messing with the Defense Force and trying to cut down their efficacy. So... And if you look at his attacks, the first attack was on the Defense Force training base, when not only Kikoru, he just so happened to attack during the greatest concentration of rookie talent. And so in a series this well written, that's not going to be a coincidence. And yet I became suspicious of it specifically because it was a classic shonen trope. Because the story follows the hero, and the hero has to have a powerful team to back it up, we expect to go enter the story at a sort of height of power, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so the main villain is also going to attack during that height of power. But this series is too well written to play that off as a coincidence. And again, I've just gotten suspicious of any large glaring trope that shows up because there's usually something hidden behind it.
Definitely.
And so what would have happened had Kaiju number 8 not been there? Had Kafka not been able to transform and take out the Hanju? Kikoru would have died. And even if Mina and Hoshina had managed to take it out, it would have been a massive blow to the Defense Force's reputation.
Oh, for sure. They would have lost rookie lives.
Yeah. Have you ever seen what happens in real life when a cadet dies in a training accident?
No, obviously not firsthand. Only what I would have heard in media and things.
But you do hear about it in the media. The media, it's the 10-day sensation. Even if it was just one of those freak accidents that nobody could have predicted, There's a demand to do something about it, and there's usually a demand to punish and get rid of whoever's in charge.
Oh yeah, that's because someone needs to be held accountable, don't they?
Shinomiya dying would have probably resulted in Mina getting kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the next attack that Kaiju number 8 just happens to prevent would have been a massive, first of all, again, you would have lost a bunch of rookies.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, there would have been a massive amount of destruction, which would have appeared to be due to the carelessness of the 3rd Division.
Yeah.
Because if they went through, killed all those Kaiju, said the job was done, and then the Kaiju kind of got up behind them,
yep,
that would have looked like carelessness on the 3rd Division. It's, again, a massive blow to Mina's reputation. And there was one more. The attack on Tachikawa Base, again, a massive loss of rookie lives while Mina was away from the base. So I'm beginning to think that number 9's goal is to undermine public faith in the Defense Force, to physically damage the Defense Force enough, which is the obvious thing, so the Defense Force can't do what they do. My theory is that the Defense Force, as it currently is, with its advanced weaponry and ever increasingly effective tactics, has become something that it wasn't before. Namely, it is interfering with whatever the Kaiju's goals are. Whatever they are, whoever is this hierarchy, whatever their goals are, the Japanese Defense Force as a entity is interfering now in a way that it hasn't interfered with Kaiju plans before.
Yeah, they've become a substantial threat.
And we know that it's changed recently through Hoshina's backstory, because a Blades Master used to be an asset, but now is not considered as much of an asset. So things have been changing recently, like within his father's lifetime.
Yeah, so we're probably talking like within 30 to 50 years.
Yeah. And so my theory is that the Kaiju have seen that. They don't want to wipe out humanity. They don't even necessarily want to completely get rid of the Defense Force, but they want to undermine the faith in the public faith in the Defense Force, specifically the public faith in the Defense Force's most trusted and admired captain.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, what do you think of that?
Oh no, yeah, I think they're sound theories. Because we really don't have any concrete information as to what number 9's goals are, but that's a theory that, you know, makes a lot of sense. He, as we just discussed, he definitely doesn't seem like he's aiming for world domination or to wipe out humans, but you know, what he's doing definitely seems more calculated, like he's trying to do specific things to, as you said, undermine the Defense Force or lower what they can actually achieve, what they can do, which could be, again, as you said, as a result of their constant kind of technological advancements, because as you pointed out with Hoshina being a blade specialist, clearly there was a time when the Kaiju threat was able to be, you know, extinguished with blades and more, I want to say primitive in quotation marks, but you know what I mean, primitive weaponry. Yeah. And now, you know, they've got guns and weapons that can, you know, with rounds made from Kaiju parts such as freeze rounds and other kind of crazy things. So they can do so much now. So it makes a lot of sense if number 9's trying to do something to limit their power.
Okay, and now then there's just, you know, I said that the reason I'm obsessing about Kafka's dad bod is that it's something that hasn't been resolved yet. So we've had our 2 beats on it and not the 3rd beat. There's another thing like that, and it's much more minor and much more in the background, but Kikoru's alma mater. It was stated in one of the first chapters that Kikoru went to a California Kaiju Neutralization University, but basically the California Kaiju Neutralization University.
Right.
And the way it was phrased, which made it seem like that university was the best international kaiju program.
Right.
Now, that in itself is weird, and at the time that sent up little red flags in my brain. Because a manga does not admit that any other university than Tokyo University is ever the leading expert on kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly don't recognize a United States university as being a better recognized kaiju expert than Tokyo University. So I'm like, that's weird. But I wondered if it might be just like a translation error. Maybe California was just a phonetic translation of whatever university she went to.
Perhaps.
But then when she's introduced to the first division, she harkens back to it and says, when I was in the States,
Mm-hmm.
they knew about the first division. They even knew about the first division.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that the kaiju slaying culture in the United States doesn't pay much attention to the Japanese kaiju slaying culture except for the first division.
The big dogs.
Yeah, so that's a very small statement, and it's a very small thing to base this on, but it seems like this places even though Japan has the highest rate of kaiju emergence, it's still something overall minor in the grand scheme of things. And each nation in the Pacific deals with the kaiju, is more focused on their own kaiju situation.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where that's going. But that's twice now that Kakoru's alma mater has been mentioned, and specifically her being sent to the States to study
Mm-hmm.
instead of studying in Japan, which suggests her being a rich girl. That means that her father considered that the best thing for her education.
Yeah, we can definitely assume that she was sent there because it was the best thing for her, coming from, her family, where we've seen that being the best is everything.
Yeah. So Director General Shinomiya himself recognizes a California university as the best, at least the best for Kakoru as she was at that time. Maybe she'd just gotten all the use she could out of the Japanese system.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get the impression that it could be a situation where the school that she went to in the States is probably the best for a specific thing. So obviously pre joining the Corps, it could be that the school there in the States is renowned for its, I guess, combat training or something like that, which would explain one way of how she's become so good at actual combat. So yeah, it could just be one of those switch situations where, schools in various places.
Specifically. And again, it just struck me as odd because her strength is drawing power from the suits.
Mm-hmm.
The suits are distinctly a Japanese company. So what if what she went there for was to learn to draw power from her suit, which is her power, why California?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I feel like there's a lot we don't know about international like kaiju defense forces, as it were. Especially because there could be a bunch of ways it could go. We could find out that there are various kaiju unique to their locations, and it could be that they fight things in different ways. We know that there's different international bodies that are notorious for different things. We still don't know much about this mysterious country that is famous for its kaiju to human transplant technology that they're working on. So there's a lot going on across the waters that we don't know much more about. So yeah, it could just be. I kind of just lean towards the fact that this school that she went to is special in some way, but I'm not sure if it's much more special than that. I don't really know how to frame my words, but that's kind of where I'm going with that.
I know it's just something in the back of my mind because it's been mentioned twice now, and so I'm kind of waiting for the third shoe to drop.
Oh, definitely. I think it's definitely going to come to a point where we either visit that school or something from that school comes to visit us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time before we start to see things from international characters or, bodies.
So do do you just have any general thoughts on this chapter, on these chapters?
Last few chapters have been crazy. I think what I really enjoyed was we had so much going on, and everything kind of hit the fan at once when it came to Kafka and losing control and going up against the Director General. There was a lot of we were kind of went from 0 to 100, and we stayed at 100 for a long period, and it just went from bad to worse constantly. So it was nice to kind of for that to all come to a conclusion, and then we had some chapters where things started to calm down, and we started to build a bit more the story and the development of the characters. I really like where Kikoru's at right now, because we're starting to see more development from her in we know that she's still all about gaining power, but her mind is now kind of showing me that she's also in a position where I feel like there's more to it, because she's attempting to learn from all of these insanely strong people that surround her. So while she's kind of going up against the Kaiju at the beginning of the chapter, she's kind of remembering how fast she's remembering how fast Hoshina is. She's remembering how much weight Captain Ashiro's attacks had. So she's really kind of drawing on all this knowledge from the battle experience she's had with these people that are so much better than her. And I really respect that kind of mindset that she's in right now. So yeah, I mean, I'm really enjoying the chapters quite a lot, and I'm enjoying the character development and where things are going. And as always, I just love Kaiju number 8 right now, and I can't wait to see where it goes next.
Yeah, same. Okay, so I guess that's it for today. Thank you for thank you for agreeing to this. It's
it's always a pleasure. I never mind.
Talking about this stuff is just fun for me. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I always enjoy talking about Kaiju number 8, and it's fun to be here. So as always, thanks for inviting me onto your channel.
All right, you have a great day.
Thank you. I'll see you later. Until next time.
The book from author Betty Adams, Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, is a humorous look at human behavior through the eyes of aliens. This book is arranged in separate reports or essays, documenting the experiences with humanity through the lens of the aliens who have to interact with them. This anthology of short stories and vignettes from alien points of view highlights some of humanity's quirks we can all relate to. Author Betty Adams captures how strange and interesting humans can really be. This is a fun collection of stories you will really get a kick out of. Humans Are Weird, I Have the Data, from author Betty Adams. Order your copy right now on Amazon.